Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Woke up to a quite chilly morning this morning. In the teens. I don't think it's even going to break above the freezing mark, if it may be close, somewhere right around there. But cold, but they're calling for high 50s and 60s here in just a few days. So we're just in this roller coaster phase right now. Probably the biggest news in the last 24 hours, well actually the last 12, 16 hours, something like that. Bitcoin has broke above $100,000 a coin, and some of you couldn't care less about that. Others are maybe quite excited. I mean, people are making some money, at least for now. Crypto is really kind of taken the front seat for a while. A lot has to do with Donald Trump. He's very, pro-crypto. He's pointed people into certain positions that are supportive of cryptocurrency, and there's been a lot of talk that the transition of the US dollar will be into crypto. Not necessarily central bank digital currency, but just, free market digital currencies. We'll see. But definitely a big news. But something else bigger than $100,000 Bitcoin, that it's not the front page of the news, but it should be. Joe Biden, just a few days ago, it was in the news that he was requesting another $24 billion. Now, he's been sending several $100 million to Ukraine here and there, but he was requesting $24 billion from Congress, and they said no, not going to happen. That they're just going to wait and see till Donald Trump gets into power, and they'll go from there. Well, Joe Biden decided to do something different, and he released $50 billion in frozen, seized Russian assets. So, to my understanding, there's about $300 billion or so of Russian money that was seized at the start of the war. And there's been a lot of talk, give that money to Ukraine. I mean, just steal it from the Russians and give it to Ukraine. And so they've approved $50 billion of that to go to Ukraine. Now, are you ready for a war? Because this is the kind of stuff, I mean, that's definitely the level of money that would cause big war, like World War III. I mean, I'm not saying that I think it'll happen, but I could see the possibility of Russia saying, okay, that is a serious threat, and that gives us justification to attack NATO. I don't think that that's going to happen. I'm just saying that I think it's at that level of seriousness. We're talking stealing from the Russians, regardless of what you think about them, and giving it to the Ukrainians so that they can launder that money, probably send a lot of it back to the United States, and then use it to attack and kill Russians. That right there is a massive act of war, if the war hadn't already been going on. And I told you yesterday how there were reports that the Russian military were issuing brand new uniforms to troops, giving certain units and stuff some downtime, preparing them a big feast of a meal. They're not eating MRE rations or anything. They prepared them, let them all get some good showers in. These are troops that are out there fighting on the front line. And typically that kind of stuff is done right before a war, or before a major escalation, or a major movement into something, a new movement in the war. So that's going on. Ukraine's getting $50 billion of Russian money that was stolen from the Russians. I think that right there, that to me should be some major news. And because I think it could easily lead. I mean, it's one thing to lob a missile or something into Russia and maybe or maybe not do a lot of damage. But taking $50 billion, That's a lot. And right now, I mean, 50 billion in Russian money that's in US dollars. I mean, that's a lot of Russian currency. I'm not going to do the math right now, but that's a lot. And, you know, that on the tail of you know, pardoning Hunter Biden, and the possibility of preemptive pardons for people in the Biden administration to prevent them from being prosecuted from crimes that we don't really. I mean, they've not even been prosecuted with these crimes. We don't even know what crimes that they're being pardoned from, right? And then now this. I up until just recently, this theory, this conspiracy theory that, well, it was talked about before the election, and then of course the election passed, and now the conspiracy theory is that there could be some type of event that the president would declare martial law and suspend things. And I've always been the one to say, or to think that, well, of course that's a possibility, but I don't think it's very likely. I just don't think it's very likely. But yet now we're watching these things happen that are quite extreme, right in the last few days of the Biden administration. And so I still don't think it'll happen, but I think that there's a increased possibility that there could be some event that would cause this suspension of powers and all this kind of stuff that would try to stop the system. I don't know. It's because it's crazy. These things are crazy. Pardoning people that you and I may agree that they're criminals, but by the letter of the law, they're not. They've not been charged. There's not even been any investigation into these folks of doing anything criminal, and yet we're already pardoning them, and then we're taking money from one country and giving it to another so that it could attack the country that they took the money from. We're getting so close, folks. I think it was Tucker Carlson, pretty sure, in the last few days, stated that we are closer to nuclear war and global World War III than probably ever before. And I tend to agree with that. I didn't grow up during the Cuban Missile Crisis, but I did grow up during the Cold War. And I think we're far closer than we were at that point. Just because the tensions of everything is so great. And I think the only big difference is the Cuban Missile Crisis, the nukes were directed at us. This time the nukes may not be necessarily directed at us, maybe Europe, but I think it's still strongly possible. And we have an administration that's just blindly pushing forward. And to be honest with you, the things that I'm seeing and hearing from the Trump administration when it comes to, ceasefires and stopping this doesn't look immediately promising. On the campaign trail, he spoke often of in the first 24 hours he was gonna stop this war and cause peace. And now in the news, it's talking about that the Trump team, Donald Trump and his team, are going over possibilities, things that they could do to cause this war to come to an end and have a ceasefire agreement. And they were saying, well, maybe we'd take weapons away from Ukraine to get them to comply, or maybe we'd give a lot more weapons to Ukraine to scare the Russians. And so in other words, it's like, I thought you had a plan. Doesn't look like you have a plan, because you're now talking about all these options. I thought there was a plan in place already, the way it made it sound, and so that when he took office, day one, that plan's implemented. It doesn't sound like that. So I'm not 100% confident that Trump administration will be able to stop this quickly either. Maybe eventually, maybe. But things are escalating, and I think that there is a strong possibility that this will escalate beyond the borders of Ukraine and Russia. And we have to get ready for that, because I think that's going to be it's going to be a serious event that will affect us May not affect us in the same way as if a nuke fell on U.S. soil, although that's a possibility. But I think it will affect us, and we have to get prepared for that. And the prices of things could go up. There could be all kinds of chaos that happens. And up into the thing of us getting directly involved in it and sending our troops over there, and maybe even doing a draft to send troops over there, there's all kinds of possibilities. And we know that the world is just, the whole world is preparing for a war. United States citizens, Americans, are kind of asleep at the wheel at that one. But if you look at the rest of the world, they are preparing for it. And you should also. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.